You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
Hunger is a health issue, and we want to make sure that these kids are receiving the most nutritious food we can possibly provide for them.
Without the assistance of food programs at school, how organizations are helping children and families in need just feet away from their homes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on summer hunger in a moment, but first, our top stories at 7. Do you remember a while back when Harvey Vengroff, the self-styled king of affordable housing, worked out of City Hall, disgusted at the hoops and hurdles the city was putting in place, preventing him from providing lower-cost housing to those who need it? That is so yesterday. City Commissioner Hagan Brody is getting Vengroff to come back to the table after calling it quits in January. The plan is for 8 acres of land on Fruitville Road to become 150 two-bedroom apartments. It should house about 500 people with an average rent of $700. Vengroff already owns the land and says he is ready to reconsider the development because Brody has agreed to work with him on decreasing millions of dollars in building fees.
We're able to keep the rents low because our overhead was lower than some of our competitors. But, you know, unless you let people build affordable housing and take away a lot of the restrictions for that, you're not going to have affordable housing.
It is not a done deal. Rezoning is needed and a deal on those fees. Nature's fireworks were the problem last night in Lakewood Ranch, a rare stroke of bad luck and a home struck by lightning. It happened on Blue Runner Court around 6 p.m. The building went up in flames, and while there's only a crack and some damage showing on the outside, everything else inside the home is gone. Firefighters say the roof may collapse at any moment.
Never heard of this before. Asked the fire chief, he said it was just a random occurrence. Could have been any home, just my luck.
The homeowner says he is thankful to have insurance and hopes everyone can use this as an example of why it is important, especially in Florida, to have it. The rain continuing to cause chaos for drivers navigating flooded streets. FDOT says it's working on a solution. Flooding is not uncommon on US 41 and 10th Street in Sarasota, but FDOT says yesterday's problem was made worse by debris clogging the drainage system.
Anything floatable or plastic or trash is just picked up instead of washed away with the rain.
FDOT says it is working on cleaning out the debris in the drainage system and checking pumps to make sure that nothing was damaged. Unbelievable. You go to Busch Gardens in Tampa to celebrate the 4th and get shot by a stray bullet. Tampa police say a man is recovering tonight after being shot during a fireworks celebration at Busch Gardens. The shooting happened around 10 p.m. The man was taken to a nearby hospital. He's expected to make a full recovery. An investigation is now underway into how he could have gotten shot and who is responsible. Authorities say it is believed that he was wounded by someone shooting into the air outside of the theme park. A Florida Highway Patrol trooper is being suspended because of what he allegedly didn't do when investigating an accident involving a local prosecutor. Trooper Joshua Flo was suspended after the agency determined he did not follow proper procedures during a hit-and-run traffic accident involving Sarasota County Assistant State's Attorney Jesse Weissman. In 2016, Weissman had been out with friends and reportedly got into 2 traffic accidents while driving home. Trooper Flo arrived on the scene, and instead of investigating claims of DUI, he drove her home. A week later, Weissman was fired from her job. If you're making plans to hit the Venice Farmers Market this weekend, heads up, it will not be in its usual spot. Ahead of a major construction project in downtown Venice, this Saturday, the Venice Farmers Market will open at its usual summer time on Avenida de Parques west of City Hall. It will run from 8 a.m. to noon. Now let's head over to ABC7's Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the First Alert Forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. Big storms firing up along the sea breeze front and outflow boundaries from storms that were around previous. Get a look at the heavy rainfall now from Venice, Osprey, into Northport, Inglewood. This is moving gradually to the north. So folks on Siesta Key, Turtle Beach, stretching northward even to Lido, this is moving in your direction, and there have been some lightning strikes at the leading edge of that storm. There's always a potential for one of these lightning strikes to go out ahead of the rainfall, so keep that in mind. If you're close enough to hear the thunder, you should be indoors seeking shelter at this point. Boy, the two boundaries boundaries have met there in Wauchula. Raining heavy in Hillsborough County. We have Temple Terrace has a flood warning right now with some of the roads closed there in Hillsborough County. And I would suspect we could get a flood advisory from this cell in particular as it moves very slowly to the north, and quite a bit of lightning just to the east of Inglewood, Tarpon Point. Look out, there could be a few bolts around. There's a live lightning shot right there at Northport. That is a positive strike. On top of that, the blue ones indicated, and the stronger ones that have higher amperage. You can see it's kind of building off to the west. There's not much movement to the north, so these are going to sit here for a while and produce some very heavy rainfall. Treacherous driving now from about Sarasota north or southward all the way down to Port Charlotte for that matter, and it looks like that will continue for at least the next half hour to hour as it slowly makes its way off to the west. There's the heavy rain near I-75. There's the extension right there. Obviously Nokomis, Venice, and even into Palmer Ranch here getting some moderate to heavy rainfall. The storm over Palmetto has since ended. Bigger storms near Wauchula. We'll have more on that, and the new tropical storm Beryl. We'll have the latest on that, and you can track it on your app if you have it. We have a great app. It is free. You want to download this, go to your store, their app store, and do the search for WWSB First Alert Weather, and you'll see that come up along with the news as well. So download both those apps and stay informed with this threatening weather. Alan?
Thanks, Bob. It is one of the most basic necessities of life, and many families in Manatee and Sarasota counties lack access to it. ABC7's Erica Jackson is here to explain why summer hunger is such a big issue locally.
More than half of the students in Sarasota County schools utilize free and reduced meal programs. But that feeding comes to a halt when that final bell rings on the last day of school.
It was very challenging.
Leroy Newell is in an electric wheelchair and has a tough time getting to the grocery store.
I just come into the truck and get what I want.
But there's a solution for Newell. And like his wheelchair, it comes on 4 wheels.
It helped me so good. It get me food. It made me happy.
It's called a mobile farm market, and it provides fresh produce to community members in need, free of charge.
Food is available throughout the county. We just need to let families know where to get it.
Sarasota's All Faiths Food Bank helps thousands of students every summer when they're unable to utilize the school's free and reduced lunch programs.
We've got apples today.
Sandra Frank is All Faiths CEO. The nonprofit feeds 40,000 kids in the summer through mobile farm markets and fills 35,000 backpacks with nutritious food to feed them every weekend. Frank says kids who are not well nourished at the beginning of the school year will quickly fall behind their classmates who are properly fed.
Having fresh food really does address the issue of health. Hunger is a health issue, and we want to make sure that these kids are receiving the most nutritious food we can possibly provide for them.
Hunger is every day for some people. It's every day throughout the whole year. But I would say that in the summer, it is critical.
Mary Beth Phillips with the Food Bank of Manatee and Meals on Wheels Plus says summer is the toughest season. Donations go down in the summer, with many snowbirds living up north. And the need for food rises since kids are out of school. Phillips says this summer is particularly tough since it's feeding double the amount of kids compared to previous years. Meals on Wheels Plus distributed 1,000 bags of food weekly during the past 3 summers. But this year, it's distributing 2,200 bags a week during its 8-week program.
We need food, we need funds, and we need volunteers.
The challenge is to find them in the summer and make sure that we reach them as well.
The school district of Manatee County has plenty of mouths to feed as well. It plans to serve 120,000 lunches and 40,000 breakfasts by the end of the summer. That's more than 5,000 meals every day. All Faiths, Meals on Wheels, and the school district know transportation can be a challenge during the summer. So the groups are bringing the food to children in need.
In a lot of cases, parents don't want their kids to come out by themselves during this summer.
Meals on Wheels is working with the school district to reach the maximum amount of children as possible. The school district has 2 buses that make 3 stops throughout the community every day. Meals on Wheels follows the school bus on Fridays, so families are getting food from 2 organizations at one place, despite their income.
That's a good way for them to find the families in the summer after we find the kids, so that works out great, and it's been a good partnership.
Newell says local summer feeding programs can be life-changing for more families than you'd expect.
A lot of communities do need it, and y'all is a great help to everybody.
The school district of Manatee County hopes to have a third mobile feeding bus by next summer so it can reach even more children. Reporting in the newsroom, Erica Jackson, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
When we return, we take our discussion on summer hunger to the trapezoid. Here tonight, the CEO of Ending Hunger, the president and CEO of Meals on Wheels, and a member of the Sarasota School Food Nutrition Program. So stay with us.
When you are home alone, an emergency can become a tragedy. However, with any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, whether in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
at home,
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
and on the go.
Help! I've fallen in the park and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-518-0221. That's 1-800-518-0221. Call now, 1-800-518-0221. For a free brochure, call 1-800-518-0221.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-604-0398.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-604-0398, or visit SoClean.com today.
Hello, I'm John Merce. Rugs As Art is celebrating yet another anniversary, and I would personally like to thank each and every one of you for the many years of continuous support. All during the month of July, we're having a grand celebration. We have flooded our showroom with yellow tag specials, meaning more discounts and more savings than ever before, plus free padding. So don't miss this anniversary celebration at Rugs As Art, Sarasota's bigger and better area rug superstore.
Welcome back. We are one of the most affluent communities in the country, yet 52% of students in Sarasota County schools qualify for free and reduced meals. 33% of households in Sarasota County struggle to afford basic needs like food. So what happens now that it is summer? Over 40,000 kids are at risk of going hungry. Tonight we talk about what is being done, and joining us for more are the CEO of Ending Hunger, Sandra Frank, the president and CEO of Meals on Wheels, Mary Beth Phillips, and Sarah Dan, a member of the Sarasota Schools Food Nutrition Program. Thanks for all being here tonight. You know, there was something that Erica said in her story that really kind of just raised a question to me, that this summer is particularly tough, that the need out there amongst youngsters for food is more than it has been in previous years. And I'm wondering if any of you know why.
I think the answers may be different for each of us. Speaking for Sarasota, All Faiths Food Bank, what we've observed is that our efforts to reach more children and raise awareness of the summer's food programs has resulted in an increased number of kids seeking that food, which is a good thing. The need itself has been between 50 and 52% for as long as I can and remember, actually?
2009, when the economy had a downturn, that's when we saw the increases go from 33% to over 50%.
So is it the same thing in terms of Sarasota schools, that you're just reaching more kids now, or is there more need now than there was in just the last couple of years? Because the economy has been recovering, so we hear.
A lot of our parents work in the service industry, and I think that recovery has been slower than anticipated.
And in Manatee County, our numbers have doubled because we partnered with our local school and nutrition services to reach more children. So we're getting out there, and our numbers have doubled because we're getting to those kids who have signed up for summer school, as well as the distribution that we've had each year.
But is it also a situation where parents who work in the service industry, those industries have not recovered to what they were before the financial
It's probably
collapse?
very likely, and you know, just there are people that are back at work, but in Manatee County, you know, we have the Alice report, which still says that about 43% of our households, our individuals, are still living right at that critical point, that poverty line, and they're one episode away of just not being able to go on financially.
And before we leave that point, I don't think we're going to see a change in the economy here, it being a service-based, so this issue will be, it's a trend that will be going on for decades yet to come.
Well, we're painting a picture that really is disturbing to a lot of people who are watching this right now and really want to make sure that the next generation that comes along can do as well as possible. Because after all, we have, you know, great schools, you know, especially in Sarasota County, you know, an A rating. But if some kids don't have the ability to learn as well because of food issues, that really has an impact.
And I think that's what motivates all of us to make sure that these children are very well fed, because whether or not they are well fed has an impact on their education, their graduation from high school, and their prospect of getting a good job.
Okay, obviously we are just getting warmed up. Our conversation on summer hunger continues right after we get a check on the first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, it's coming down heavy now in South Sarasota County, also interior sections of our viewing area into Hardy and DeSoto counties. Flood warning now in effect as well for Hillsborough County due to the excessive amount of rainfall there near Tampa. And this cell in particular is the one to watch. It's moving very slowly to the north. It's raining heavy now from Osprey through Venice to Inglewood all the way to Northport this evening. At rainfall rates up to 2 inches an hour, and we're starting to see a little bit more lightning too. This is building towards Siesta Key, so folks on the beaches there, seek shelter as this is moving in your direction. It's still building a little bit off into the Gulf too, so this has enough power. It broke down that sea breeze, and now it's on its own, and it's really starting to flare up, although it will come to an end here pretty quickly in Northport. Some light rain lingering though, but the heaviest rain by far along I-75, stretching all the way up, as you can see, the interstate up into near Clark Road, in fact, and the heaviest lightning now near Nokomis into Palmer Ranch, Honore Avenue, getting some heavier rainfall. We had some big storms near Palmetto earlier in Bradenton. Those have since moved on, and this activity here weakening in East Manatee County near Duet. And this is the line that's producing some pretty torrential rain right now just to the west of Wauchula, although it too is starting to narrow down a little bit, indicating it may have reached its maximum stage as far as producing a lot of rainfall. The rain finally came to an end in Palmetto and into Rabonia. That is over for now, and it was heavy at times. Lakewood Ranch has had a couple of bouts with rain, still light rain there now, all the way over to the Meadows, which saw their fair share of storms. This one trying to build off to the west at this point, but not having much success. But this is the one I think of concern, causing some possibility of some street flooding here, localized street flooding from Inglewood northward through Venice at this point. Again, the forecast is calling for scattered showers and storms. We're transitioning a little bit into a westerly component, and what that does, it favors some coastal showers in the morning, and then that will move inland with the main focus in the interior portions of our viewing area over the next couple of days, Friday and into Saturday as well. There is an upper level low again spinning just to the north of us too. We'll have to keep an eye on that. That could change things, put a little fly in the ointment there as far as that goes. But for tonight, those showers winding down. I think they'll be over a little bit quicker than 11 o'clock. They should be out into the Gulf of Mexico, say around 9 o'clock, and then things calming down. We'll look for some clouds, partly cloudy skies to wake things up tomorrow. And then the inland showers mainly along the east coast. coast with a few coastal showers possible on Friday morning. Same goes true for Saturday. You'll notice in the forecast here, as far as the forecast model goes, a few showers scattered about right there in the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico, and then kind of working their way in inland areas in the afternoon. So the weekend looks good, other than the morning, a little bit dicey. Now out there in the Atlantic, we have our second named storm, Tropical Storm Beryl, and it really is developing over some very cold waters for hurricanes. In fact, water temperatures typically have to be 80 degrees or above. Water temperatures here are into the mid-70s, so a little unusual, and it's got a well-defined eye as well. And so this one is a surprise storm that's heading to the west. The forecast models call for it to dissipate before it reaches the islands here. I know a lot of folks go cruising this time of year from Florida down into the Caribbean, so we'll keep an eye on that for you. But it could get up to a hurricane strength right there in between Friday afternoon and Saturday afternoon. It's moving to the west. The one south of Bermuda, not a concern at this point. We do have this upper level low feature that could enhance some storms over the next 48 hours. We'll have much more on that obviously a little bit later. As far as the forecast goes for boaters, tomorrow seas running less than 2 feet, smooth out there. Not much wind for the sails though. And the 7-day forecast is calling for a 40% chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms. High temperatures near 90. Looks fairly typical for this time of year. Just the timing of the storms change a bit on Friday and Saturday. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now before it's too late.
Make us swim! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
I'll be right back.
I'll be right back. Hi! You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, what was once impossible is happening today for thousands of patients with blood cancer.
I live.
I live. I live. I live.
I live.
She lives.
Because of the research done by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the battle against blood cancer.
If you had a chance to support the research that is saving lives, what would you do?
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now, we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
Welcome back. We are talking about summer hunger, and joining us for more are the CEO of Ending Hunger, Sandra Frank, the president and CEO of Meals on Wheels, Mary Beth Phillips, and Sarah Dan, a member of Sarasota School's First Nutrition Program. This is an important subject. It's important to every member of this community. It's important to us here at ABC7. And we have an initiative going on when we mentioned Feeding Sarasota or Manatee County, that you could find out more about this right on our website at mysuncoast.com/hunger. I encourage you all to go there and check it out and see what programs are out there to feed youngsters and the community. And Sandra, we also mentioned in our story, it's this time of year that your food bank and other food banks, the supplies get lower. And I would imagine, that has a lot to do with why these programs are so important during the summer.
Exactly. Referencing this being a seasonal and service economy, come March, April, May, most of our residents head north or back home to their residence. Food and funds disappear at that point for us who work in the food banks, and that was the impetus and the reason behind starting the campaign against summer hunger, which was to raise food and funds to help feed these children all summer long when our snowbird friends are not here.
So how is that going right now in terms of your stockpiles and the funding to keep it going?
This campaign worked phenomenally well, so much so that Mary Beth's group is now beginning to get involved in it. We have raised sufficient fund to be able to provide food for children through August, right into the term when school starts, and we try to overlap with the school year when it begins, so that we're providing backpacks and food right through August into September for these children.
Same thing in Manatee County. So during the school break, there's no access to make sure that those children have the nutrition they need, and the weekend programs.
And Sarah, is there a way to basically quantify the impact this has on children in terms of how they learn and have their test scores?
Well, there's definitely research out there that supports that when children are undernourished during times that impacts their learning. So this is our 21st summer of doing community feeding, and so it's definitely making an impact.
Okay, we are getting warmed up. Our conversation on summer hunger will continue after a quick break, so stay with us.
Selfless service is the principle that guides Army National Guard soldiers to be ready whenever disaster strikes. They have a stake in the well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times. Selfless service. It's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
Each day, researchers make discoveries that bring us closer to the moment when all cancer patients can become survivors. Their progress is made possible with the help of clinical trials. Clinical trials are the brightest torch researchers have to light their way towards better treatments. And if you've been diagnosed with cancer, they may be your brightest ray of hope. Speak with your doctor and visit standuptocancer.org/clinical trials to learn more. Together, we can stand up for all of us.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Give today at force.uso.org.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-604-0398.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-604-0398. Or visit SoClean.com today.
We're losing exotic animals on a daily basis, and the ones that we have in captivity are really the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I'm Clayton Rozier from the Big Cat Habitat and Gulf Coast Sanctuary, housing over 150 exotic animals that needed a great home. And if you love animals, please help them. Do it locally. Support your local no-kill shelters, your local wild animal sanctuaries. Make a difference where you can.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Letting my friends online know I was quitting kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it. You can too.
For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about summer hunger here on the Suncoast, and joining us for more is the CEO of All Faiths Food Bank, Sandra Frank, the president and CEO of Meals on Wheels, Mary Beth Phillips, and Sarah Dan, a member of Sarasota Schools Food Nutrition Program. Thank you all again for joining us. And some of the numbers here are incredible. All Faiths is working with 178 different partners to feed children during the summer. At least 40,000 backpacks at 104 different locations, including libraries and summer camps and child-centric agencies. That's incredible work out there.
And it's through innovation and partnerships that we are able to reach 35 to 40,000 children. They are scattered all over the county. So it's been necessary, and it's been important and effective to have 178 partners helping.
But we were talking during the break, and it's something that we really should emphasize and re-emphasize. These situations are happening not necessarily through any fault of these families. These families, you talk about in the service industry, you know, it's really kind of paycheck to paycheck, and if one thing goes wrong, if your car breaks down, you know, it's almost like a domino effect in terms of abilities of mothers and fathers to feed their children.
Right. So they come to the food banks to make sure that they have food on the table, but like you said, just one episode can just set them in a state where they can't afford, or they have to choose, do I put gas in the car or do I buy food? And in many cases, they have to come to the food banks to get the food.
Or get to a job which allows them to earn money to...
Right. It is an important point that I think we'd like for us all here and your listeners to take away, is that these are working families, hardworking families.
That's true.
And given our economy, it's service-based. They're making a little bit above minimum wage. Both the parents are working. It's very hard to cover the cost of the most basic necessities, given the high cost of living in Sarasota.
I was going to say housing
as
too.
well.
You know, housing costs are pretty high, and that contributes to it as well.
Sarah, I imagine for the school system, it's very frustrating from the point of view that you work so hard during the school year to get test scores up, to get you know, reading up and a good learning situation, and you provide these meals during the school year, and the difficulty and the danger is these kids, you know, lack for good nutrition during the summer months, and it sets them back as we go into the next school year.
Well, and that's why in 1997 we went to the community and started the community partnerships. Since that time, it's now grown to 48 sites throughout Sarasota County. Any given day, there's over 9,000 breakfasts going out and 15,000 lunches.
And
that's for a week, but you know, in the day, so we're really meeting, you know, trying to meet that, and then with everybody partnering together, we're able to take care of our kids in the summer as well as the school year.
Explain for a moment why another family who is living around here, who is doing better and has no problem providing for their children, should really care that some children are lacking in terms of good nutrition during the summer?
That's a great question. What they need to realize is that family may be right next door, their friends may be struggling with,
and they may not know.
And they may not know. And there are so many resources in this community. That's one of the exciting things about this program, is that everybody's working together to try to help all children, not just kids in need, but you know, those Alice kids, anybody who might struggle, because you never know what your neighbor's going through.
What is for people who are watching this right now who want to help in some kind of way? Is it better that they donate food or come up with and try to donate money, or organizations trying to get together and finding ways to fund these programs?
I would say all of the above. So we welcome organizations to do food drives, neighborhoods to do food drives. Of course, funds give us the capability of getting, using our purchasing power, of course, but I would say all of them would be helpful.
And another really important thing is we found through our studies and worked with the families, they weren't accessing the food because they didn't know it was available. They simply didn't know it was available. If the folks who are listening could just be aware of that and share that information, go to any of our websites, and all of those locations are identified.
Right, and I mentioned this once before. I want to put this back on the screen if we can, that we have links to these websites on our webpage at Feeding Sarasota and Feeding Manatee County. If you go to mysuncoast.com/hunger, it is all there. There are links to these programs and a lot of information that's going on out there. And it's kind of critical to know where to look and what's available out there for families that may need it.
Getting the word out, that's the key to this. As Sandra said, a lot of times families don't know these resources are available for them. And what's exciting is, we can direct them to places where they can get breakfast, they can get lunch, but also where they can get snack bags, where they can get fresh produce, all sorts of foods that can help the family and the children. So everyone benefits.
In terms of the funding, are we really kind of depending on the good nature and the generosity of the community? Is there government funding that is out there?
Not necessarily for us, maybe for...
Yeah.
And is it stable?
Yes, there is no government funding for the food bank of Manatee necessarily, but it's the funding that comes from the community, for the most part, that helps to fund what we need to purchase.
In our case, the Summer Food Service, or the Summer Break Spot program, is the U.S. Department of Agricultural funded program, and at this point there haven't been any funding cuts, so we're we're moving forward, feeding as many kids as possible.
But there was a lot of discussion about that over the last year. I remember discussions in terms of cuts to that program, cuts to Meals on Wheels that concern a lot of people. The other question is there concern out there that about the cost of food going up? It goes up regardless, but there are a lot of things that are going on in our politics right now in terms of tariffs and how it's going to affect the dairy industry and farmers and so forth. And I would imagine that could, have an impact on people's ability to contribute to these programs.
I think for us the most costly is the produce and the fresh meat, and those prices are going up. And then the cost of the transportation of those from the farm to the food bank or to the school, the costs are going up, and there are concerns in the food industry related to the tariffs.
So let me ask you, one thing that you think that people don't know about the need for summer nutrition for children and the overall problem?
What people don't need, wonderful work done by Children's Health Watch that demonstrates that. Children who do not receive adequate food during the summer months are less likely to do well in school, are less likely to graduate from school, and less likely to become productive members of our society and give back.
I think we have to feed the body before we feed the mind, and it's critical to benefit both our children and our community to make sure that happens.
Sarah?
And it's definitely a key component to the preventing the summer learning, to preventing the summer slide. So definitely good nutrition is important for all children in the summer months.
All right, I want to thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to thank our guests, Sandra Frank, Mary Beth Phillips, and Sandra Dan, for joining us tonight. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers had to say about last night's discussion on patriotism in our polarized times. From Sarah Huckabee Sanders being booted out of a restaurant, Maxine Waters calling for cabinet members to be confronted, to President Trump mocking anyone who disagrees with him, Democrat or Republican, and calling the press the enemy. Joni says patriotism means supporting the ideals set forth in the Bill of Rights. It means being a good citizen a decent human, it does not mean blindly following a person in a leadership position. Susie says, go to another country if you don't have any patriotism. Maybe another country will open your eyes to just how good you have it here. And Joan says, instead of a fluff piece, why not report on the 7 GOP senators who are meeting in Moscow right now with no media access? Joan, if you watched our roundtable, there was no fluff. We pushed State Senator Greg Steube and Susan Nyland to confront those in their own parties relying on mocking the opposition instead of making their case. As for the GOP senators who preferred to spend the 4th of July in Moscow with Putin, good point. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. When we return here on ABC7 at 7, we'll be joined by USF Sarasota Manatee economics instructor Michael Snipes, who will talk about us using economic preferences. We'll explain what that means after the break.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991. Now, in one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TrueStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Welcome back. We are talking about economic preferences, and lucky for us, we have USF Sarasota Manatee economics instructor Michael Snipes here to explain. And Michael, happy 4th.
Happy 4th.
I love it when you bring props.
Yeah, I try. So I was thinking about this, and so I would like to make you an offer. I would like you to choose between which one you have a preference over, this dollar or this penny. Which one would you choose?
The dollar.
So you would choose the dollar. So then let me do something else here. Let me give you an equivalent amount. So this is $1 worth of pennies, right? And I'll now ask you to choose between these two sums of money here. Which one would you prefer?
I'll take the the bag of pennies and the dollar.
Okay. Right. Well, what about if I offered you a third option? Now, which one do you think that you would like to choose?
I'll say the one on the right here just for saying it.
Okay. Well, each one of these things at every single step is a little bit different than the previous, right? But they're going by very incremental changes, right? So at every single step, the preferences are a little bit different. But maybe that's just because these are big sums of money. Let me offer you instead a slightly different thing. So here we'll go from the bottom. So would you prefer this bag of money or this bag of money?
Well, it depends if there's the same amount of money in there.
Well, of course, right? It depends upon whether or not there's the same amount of money. And so let me offer you one more choice, right? And what's happening here is that at every single step, the change is very, very small. And so what happens is that when we compare something that's relatively obvious, like a dollar and a penny, it's pretty obvious. But if we go at very small steps, changes and preferences become very hard to identify. And it's what's known as just perceptible differences. So the problem of just perceptible differences. And if we carry this train of logic all the way through, then I can get it to where you are indifferent between this bag that has $1, this bag that has 99, this bag that has 98, because it's not obvious which one is which. And if you carry that logic all the way through, right, then it could be that, well, if you're indifferent between these three, you can be indifferent between the penny and the dollar. So there's at least a potential that if change is very gradual and if change is very small, you can end up with something that looks very different at the end than it did at the very beginning, but the changes were very small and very incremental. Then when you take a step back, you end up with something that looks completely different.
Yes, you came in here looking like an economics professor, and now you look like, you know, John Lennon wearing a hat.
Yeah, it's very professional, and I thought that it would be in keeping with the season. So this is kind of the way an economist would think about how things change. And if the change is gradual enough, you can end up with some contradictions.
Okay. Michael, thank you very much. Can't wait to see what you do next week. USF Sarasota Manatee Economics instructor Michael Snipe joins us every Thursday night. When we return, after calls for his resignation coming for weeks, EPA Chief Scott Pruitt has finally resigned. Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment. But right now, let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. The Casey Key webcam showed a nice beach day throughout most of the day. And then as we advance through time, big storm has flared up. Outflow boundary from some earlier storms, and the east coast breeze making it all the way over, turning skies dark, and also some rain offshore and then to the south of Casey Key, expected to move on in here in the next half hour or so. You can see most of the activity was inland, and then the outflow boundaries, the heavy rain creates these little miniature fronts, if you will, which create bigger storms around as it runs into that very warm air. And you can see that line now making its way through Venice. It is pretty heavy there in Venice, spreading up toward Osprey. Siesta Key getting some rainfall right now. A few lightning strikes. These storms are not all intense in terms of the overall number of lightning bolts, but we are still seeing some pretty heavy rainfall, as you see from near Venice and also Northport. It's starting to lessen up there, a little heavier to the east of Northport. Inglewood, you still have the lightning around. If you can hear the thunder, obviously you're still close enough to get hurt by that lightning. And you can see Osprey. This is kind of trying to move in, but also it's building outward as well. So the rain will stick around here for a while, at least for the next half hour or so, as it makes its way to the north. Now we're getting rainfall into Palmer Ranch as well along I-75. It's been tough driving down there. And to the north we go now into the Manatee County area. You can see near Port Harbor Parkway some rain. Up to, looks like State Road 43, some showers there, but it has come to an end in Bradenton and Palmetto for the time being, although this may have some chance of getting up there here in the next hour or so. Boy, it's been raining heavy as well in DePolk County and Hillsborough, where they've had some flood advisories there just in the last hour or so. A very active day due to a line of low pressure. Things are going to change a little bit. We're going to keep an eye on an upper level low here too, which may change things up a bit as well over the upcoming 48 hours. You can see that low pressure right there spinning. This one's a little bit further north. The one that brought us the heavy rainfall on July 3rd and 4th was a little bit closer to us. This one's going to move basically to the north, although there is a little bit of a drop to the south here in the last few frames from this water vapor imagery, but that low sometimes can enhance thunderstorms. We know on July 3rd, we saw some really tremendous storms around. Well, the forecast tonight calling for those showers to move off into the Gulf and dissipate. Tomorrow, there may be a few morning showers and those will progress inland throughout the afternoon. The rain chances for the coastal locations at about 30%, inland areas 40%. And some of those storms could be strong. This kind of setup, we get these late night showers and overnight showers too, setting up in the Gulf. This is again Saturday morning showing showers and storms possibly moving into the coast, and then the bulk of the precipitation, easy for me to say, right, located into central Florida, pushing off toward the east coast. Well, the GOES satellite showing our vigorous little storm out here could get bigger, could become the first hurricane of the season. You don't normally see storms form in water temperatures at 77 degrees. In fact, there's only been about 5% of storms ever recorded developing in cooler waters like that. On top of that, looks as though it will continue on this west-northwesterly course, but there's some strong winds here in the upper levels of the atmosphere, which will more than likely rip this apart before it reaches the island. But we'll have to keep a close watch on it over the weekend. Well, here's the forecast for boaters tomorrow. Smooth conditions out there. We'll have seas less than 2 feet, with the exception of a few thunderstorms around. We'll see a 40% chance for rain, just a timing difference on Friday and Saturday, and good chances for scattered storms in the afternoon each and every day. We'll be right back after this.
I heard about the Detoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Detoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Dear parents, it's time for a pop quiz. What's the best kind of play for kids? Play that makes us think? Or helps us pretend? Or teaches us rules? Or to be creative? Actually, every kind of play is important because different kinds of play give us different kinds of skills. Help us mix up the ways we play. Okay, class dismissed. Now go play.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Checking primetime headlines, breaking news tonight. Embattled EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt has resigned. President Trump making the announcement in a tweet, of course. As ABC's Arlette Saenz tells us, Pruitt has been embroiled in scandal for months and is the subject of several ethics investigations looking into his spending and flights and security.
After months of scandal, embattled EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt is out. As he flew to a rally in Montana, President Trump tweeted he had accepted Pruitt's resignation, writing, "Scott has done an outstanding job, and I will always be thankful to him." Just last night, Pruitt was mingling with guests at the White House 4th of July celebration.
Administrator Scott Pruitt and Ambassador Bob Lighthizer, thank you for being here.
Pruitt has been under fire for months for a series of ethical lapses tied to his spending, staff management, ties to lobbyists, and a sweetheart housing deal where he paid only $50 a night. Pruitt had been the subject of a dozen ethics investigations. Most recently, there were questions about whether Pruitt used his clout to try to get his wife a Chick-fil-A franchise.
My wife is an entrepreneur herself. I love, she loves, we love. Chick-fil-A is a franchise of faith.
Throughout the scandals, President Trump publicly praised Pruitt, who oversaw the undoing of many Obama-era environmental and climate rules.
EPA is doing really, really well. And, you know, somebody has to say that about you a little bit. You know that, Scott.
Even some Republicans called for him to go.
He is about as swampy as you get here in Washington, D.C.
Earlier this week, Pruitt was confronted at a D.C. restaurant by a woman pushing him to step down. The president tweeted, "Andrew Wheeler, Pruitt's deputy at the EPA, will step in as acting administrator." Arlette Saenz, ABC News, Washington.
We may be just hours away from President Trump announcing his pick for the U.S. Supreme Court. A source familiar with the process says the president has wrapped up his interviews talking to 7 contenders. ABC News has learned the frontrunners include Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, Raymond Kethledge, and Amul Thapar all met with the president on Monday.
Such an important decision, and we're going to give you a great one like Justice Gorsuch. We hit a home run there, and we're going to hit a home run here.
But one potential nominee is facing pushback from some top Republicans. Federal court appeals judge Kavanaugh. Some Republicans are worried Kavanaugh won't be a reliable conservative vote. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.